Making contact at point 003.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And today we're discussing Ahsoka Part 3, Time to Fly?
Time to Fly, yeah. Time to Fly, is that Pacific time or UK time? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, they need to work on that.
I kept thinking of the in the Green Lantern film,
Mm-hmm.
Tomar Ray saying, "We're going to fly now."
They fly now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering after the first two episodes whether they were going to do like pairings, like every episode. So the first one was Master and Apprentice, second one was Toil and Trouble. I wondered if they were just going to do like this and that for every episode, but apparently not. We're not getting that.
No. That's fine.
Time to Fly. It sounds like a Rebels episode title. It sounds like one of the animated series, which is what this show's doing. It's giving us that energy for sure, and it's still doing it.
Okay, so could I just say,
yeah,
like I love this episode.
It's great.
Too short.
Yeah,
too short. But I mean, here's the thing. I don't want like dogfight fatigue and stuff. Because here's like, okay, I posted this on Blue Sky yesterday, and I mentioned this. This is something that I've been kind of hoping for since Andor. We love Andor. Andor is amazing.
Yep.
Andor is taking itself deadly seriously, but it's really focused on the story.
Yeah.
Mandalorian seems to not give a shit about the story, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna give you like
cool shit,
like a whole episode of Mando walking down into mines, fighting monsters, fighting a crazy Phil Tippett thing, and then he's gonna get captured. Then another person, Bo-Katan's gonna come through and do the same thing. It's really light on story.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of more of a broad strokes. It's a sort of a season arc that's kind of filled with a lot of action and adventure,
fun bits throughout. Yeah.
I wanted something right between there. Something with the fun action, but with some substance.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we got kind of that with Obi-Wan, but I feel more so with this.
I think this is exactly what you're describing. It's like every episode is pushing forward to like the next thing. There's no lag, there's no real like downtime. It's even the slower quote unquote moments of like this episode, for instance, they are still pushing the story in the right direction, but it's still taking that time to have a super fun, like not overly bloated and overly long, but like taking its time to have a good solid dogfight in space.
Last week, it was only last week, we're talking to Eddie, and Eddie was talking about the pacing, how it felt slow, and how, we've been all watching Rebels, and it's 22 minutes long,
bang,
and now we're watching an hour long episode of Rebels, so it feels slow. So I guess this one felt the most like Rebels. As far as the pacing goes.
Yeah. Like a part 1 of 2. Like in my rewatch, we just recently did like the 2 Geonosis episodes where it's like it's split in the middle. And then it's like, oh, that didn't have an ending, but it's like into the next one. This is 8 episodes where they probably will all have a similar sort of thing. I think of the 3 of us last week, I was the most forgiving of the pacing. I quite liked that deliberate pacing. Like it introduced us to the characters, it introduced new people to the characters, and it gave us time to sort of re-immerse ourselves in this corner of the galaxy, and I really enjoyed it. This week, my first watch was 2 a.m. my time. I was like, it was only because of the length of the episode. It felt short to me at the time, but upon like a rewatch, I'm like, oh, I only felt like that because I was enjoying it so much. It was just, I just want more. And so when I was like immediately after, so like 2:30 last night, I was like, oh man, like the pacing's a bit weird. Like they could have maybe trimmed some of that training at the beginning and just given it a little bit longer, or had a couple of extra scenes at the end. I'm like, when I watched it again this afternoon, I'm totally fine with it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was almost
no.
set up like a Rebels episode.
Yeah.
Like especially an early Rebels episode where let's center this episode around sort of an action sequence.
Yeah.
And
This
then
is the
inject
big set
character
piece
stuff
and
in the middle.
Mhm.
Ahsoka out in space 100%
So Clone Wars.
felt like Clone Wars.
I mean, she's wearing the same spacesuit. We've seen her in
Yeah.
that spacesuit, and it even had like the old, like Republic
Yeah.
symbol that looks like an Imperial patch. But then, like you look at it, it's like, I don't know, that's the Republic. That's the old Republic. That's clearly just her old spacesuit from the Clone Wars.
Which is my favorite look so far, because I kind of feel like the Jedi stuff is kind of boring. I don't know. I love Bosk.
Yeah.
Bosk is one of my favorites,
Mhm.
and it's because it's a weird alien in a spacesuit. So I
It
think
is
that's
just
kind
a
of
spacesuit. Yeah.
yeah.
It definitely feels the most like original trilogy, walking around Mos Eisley, not a featured person, just someone who's in the corner of the cantina. It's Boshek. It's that sort of look. Yeah.
So Boshek wore the same suit. I think it was from Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
As Bosk.
Yeah.
You can see like Bosk's outfit and Boshek's outfit in
painted different.
Doctor Who. Yeah. Let's say hi to the chat. Because we got some new faces I haven't seen. Yeah. Stevie's here. Sarah, Lucha Johnny's here. Lucha's showing up in a future episode of live action Star Wars.
Yeah, of
but
this series.
More importantly, I'll be on his channel, Geek the F Out, on Friday night.
This week.
Friday night this week. I'm not sure if it's live or not. Lucha can probably let us know. But yeah, Jeremy Kelly's here. Vince Diaz, who I don't believe I've seen in the chat before.
Not in the
Welcome
chat,
to
no.
the show.
Hey Vince, how you doing?
Jeremy. Also, Brad Burks. I don't know if I've seen in the chat before.
It's awesome getting new faces in the chat. It's really nice. And then also from Brisbane, Australia. I'm gonna butcher the name here, but Tahura.
That looks good to me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What time is it there? I don't know, but that's super cool.
Is it 12 hours for me? So is it like 7:30 at night there?
Maybe. Oh, well, that's not too bad. This
seems like it.
Yeah, nice.
It's like and then hold-on maneuvers here.
Hey.
Most likely Mark, probably.
Mark's
How's
not
it going?
chat.
Oh my gosh. Carlos showed up. He's at Disneyland. He might be actually working right now. I think he works graveyards.
And Vince has just clarified he's usually here as Popolo.
Yeah, we mentioned him last week.
Yeah.
Right.
It's awesome.
Okay. So this episode, it felt like last week they had the 2 weeks. We were mentioning the 2 episodes to do the setup. And I feel like this is what we're getting from here on out. And if this is it, we only have 4 more episodes left, or 5 more episodes left?
Five more. Yeah.
And it's just like, no. I just started getting
next
into
week
this.
we'll be halfway through the series. That's
I love last week. I love last week's episode.
Yeah.
But this one just felt right. It felt new. It felt different.
It's more
but
propulsive.
Same.
Yeah.
Literally propulsive.
Yeah, for real. But it starts off with a nice slow, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like it's taking its time with that training, and that the way that Hu Yang was training with Sabine, I love that. That's a Jedi training that we've not seen before. We've seen Jedi with training sabers, we've seen them with the remotes, and there was a remote on the shelf, but I was so grateful that we didn't just get her with a remote again, because we've seen that a million times before. I don't need that. You've got a droid there who trains Jedi. Let's see that. What does that look like? And it looks like what I assume Beat Saber looks like. I don't have a VR headset, so I've not played it, but that's what I assume Beat Saber looks like when people are doing that.
In the Clone Wars, does he have the 4 arms?
I don't think so. I think we see him in the Gathering arc, and Like he's just like helping them build lightsabers and stuff. So he's just got stuff on his belt. But
So bold
makes
prediction,
sense.
maybe not too bold. We see him fighting.
Maybe.
In this.
I mean, again, in the Clone Wars
Setting up
episodes,
the fight,
he's
right?
referred to as Master Hu Yang, like he's a Jedi himself, sort of
Yeah.
thing, but he's a droid.
So it garners that respect, and if he's into lightsabers, there's got to
super
be
cool.
like a General Grievous type of battle where he
That'd be
joins the
cool.
fight. Hopefully survives it.
Or maybe we don't see that and we see that in the Dawn of the Jedi movie 25,000 years ago, because he's apparently from that time.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be super cool. He's like, yeah, he's one of the first like Jedi.
Would he be an acolyte?
I mean, he's around at that time.
Okay.
Like he's been around since the Dawn of the Jedi. He's old.
Again, like I'm not a Doctor Who fan. This is too much Doctor Who talk. But and I'd never really understood, like, oh man, people love David Tennant. He seems great. Stevie's watching Good Omens now. Good show. But this is like my first like where I'm like, oh man, I really like David Tennant. This character is really good.
I've always enjoyed him in things that I've seen. I just don't like Doctor Who, so I've not been as exposed to him.
Yeah. That's what I liked about this episode too, is we talked about the first 2 episodes. Maybe Ahsoka felt a little too serious. And this one felt more, I think, in line with like the Clone Wars version of Ahsoka, or at least the Rebels
version. I mean, I was thinking that last week. It's like everyone was saying, "Oh no, she's too stoic," and I was like, "No, she is stoic." But watch Rebels again. She's pretty stoic throughout most of that. Like she's deadly serious. Like she's seen some shit. She's been through a lot of stuff since she was fun-loving Snips. Like
it's almost like Dave Filoni wants Snips on this show. But he's like, well, I mean, in Rebels, she's really
not that at the moment.
She wasn't Snips.
Yeah.
So let's kind of like ease into it. Let's start where you ended on Rebels, and let's get back into it, which this felt like it. This felt more like they're getting back into her.
For sure. And I think that's the journey that she's going to be going on of this show. Sorry. Like a lot of people are assuming and guessing that maybe by the end of the show, we see her in the white cloak and everything like that. She's going
back to being a Jedi.
But then
accepting the Jedi way,
maybe, or deciding to do something different. Like, because I really liked all the chat in this where Hu Yang is just like, she wouldn't have been accepted as a Jedi. She would never have been trained as a Jedi. And Ahsoka's the one who's like, the Jedi were wrong. They failed. Like, all of that doctrine didn't work for them in the end. Like, it caused their demise. And she is someone who stepped away. She's taking what works. She's taking the good ideals of the Jedi Order, but she's not being beholden to it. She is willing to adapt and change it when it's necessary and when it's relevant, like training Sabine.
Yeah. And that's what Ray Stevenson is doing.
Exactly. And it's such a cool parallel. And I can't wait to see those two talk. Like we said it last week, I want to see those two have a conversation more than a fight.
Yeah, there's a little bit in the trailer, which I haven't gone back and watched because I feel like I forgot what their conversation was.
I just know that Anakin's
like
mentioned.
Basic general. Yeah.
That's all I remember.
So that's going to be interesting. I like, okay, so more and more, this Merrick character.
Yeah.
The deep, I know that Anakin's voice gets altered, Kylo Ren's voice gets altered under a mask, but I really feel like they're hiding something. And what else would they possibly be hiding?
I'm dead set on it now that I don't. So in the week in between, because Sam Witwer was in the credits for episode 1 and 2 as additional voices, and so people were like, "Oh wow, does that Starkiller like Galen Marek theory hold any truth? Are they going to do a new version of that?" Might, but apparently this week it's a different voice. Like the person who actually is voicing him is someone else. It's not Sam Witwer. But I mean, it could still be his face.
Right. Sam Witwer, but that's like Matthew Wood uses a lot of those guys. Like I guess Mark Hamill has mentioned that he's been in like every single Star Wars project.
Yeah. He just shows up. Like he doesn't need a credit.
He shows up for everything, including like Mando and like Dabuske and Last Jedi. Like Matthew Wood will just call him up and be like, "Hey, we're doing Star Wars.
Just give me
You
some
wanna do a
lines. Like, I'm
secret
sure
voice?"
that
Yeah,
at this point, Mark's got a recording booth at home, sort of thing. He probably doesn't need to go into Skywalker for
right,
it. Yeah.
right. Which
And
is
I think
terrific.
Whitwer, I mean, hell, all voice actors through COVID, if they were working, they all set up their own like voice booths in their closets and stuff. Hey, Tom's here as well. Tom was at All In with me on Saturday. It was having a great time.
Are they Proto Knights of Ren? Probably,
Could be.
because if they're not gonna be Sith,
Mm.
if they're like a Jedi who's sort of denounced the Sith, then why not be a third thing? Like people were speculating that in the Rise of Skywalker was going to be like the name of the new Jedi, what a Jedi Knight is, that what a new sort of thing that Rey creates. And Knights of Ren could be that. The Sith went away. The Sith went away after, well, sort of after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So they kind of have a head start on creating whatever the new version of the Sith is. And that
going into like James Reed's canon corner. The Knights of Ren already exist at this point. There is they are led by a guy named Ren. He doesn't wear a shirt.
And it's a different spelling than Sabine Clan Ren, right?
Yeah. The Knights of Ren are just REN. Clan Ren is WREN. They exist. They are Force sensitive. Again, similar. Like they've got varying different powers. Ren has a red lightsaber. They are a hassle for Luke and Ben when Ben is training with him. They basically Snoke manipulates Ben, pushes him towards them. He kills the leader, becomes their leader. But that doesn't mean that there was people who dropped in, dropped out. Like there was a lot more of them. They got involved with the War of the Bounty Hunters stuff. Like they were working for what's her name, Kira, for a little while, like briefly. Like they've been around for a while. But again, that doesn't mean
I feel like Merrick's got to be somebody. It's really weird because Merrick didn't show up in any of the trailers, didn't show up in any of like the posters and stuff. It felt like, oh, we don't want people to start speculating, and then all of a sudden, this character is there.
I don't this episode more because they were like, clearly it's like you've got the henchmen, you've got the fodder when they're in the dogfight, and then you've got Shin and Merrick, and it's just like, yeah, those two aren't going to die in this fight, but who is he? Why? Yeah. It might just be an underling villain that is like someone that Sabine can take out in like her progression, her growth.
I mean, I think it's set up for Baylan to be matched up against
Ahsoka
and Shin with Sabine. Yeah. So why is Merrick? Why is he there?
Yeah, we need a third.
Dude, I swear.
Yeah,
it's something. It's I mean, am I setting myself up for disappointment? I don't know, but I feel like it's such a weird thing to add, because the first episode was titled Master and Apprentice. That could either refer to Sabine and Ahsoka, but it could also be Baylan and Shin.
Yeah. That and we don't have a lack of villains in this show, like either. Like we've got between those two, Thrawn, like the threat of Thrawn.
You don't need a third character.
Like, you don't need it unless it's something. Yeah, you are right.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Screen Crush posted a video this past week where they were coming up with the same thing, where they're like, "Is it Ezra?" And sort of laid out like, here's some things. I don't know. You would think if it's Ezra that that Ahsoka would sense Ezra.
And if it's Ezra, then how's he back already? Like that sort of seems to defeat the point of the hyperspace ring, because that way, like if he's back, then Thrawn would have a way of back already. So
the only thing I'm thinking is that he's sort of injected himself into this because he wants to get closer to or keep people from going out there.
Or it's his way to get to Thrawn, because, maybe
he splintered off from Thrawn. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he would just side with Sabine and Ahsoka on their mission instead of the, quote, bad guys. I mean, I don't know who it could be. That would be...
That's the
Maybe
thing. I
it's a
don't.
young
I don't know if
Palpatine
there's
clone.
time.
I don't. That's ridiculous.
If there is any way that they could do it and make it satisfying, that's why I'm still leaning towards it just being an Inquisitor who's like
It's not Luke.
Luke.
Maybe. What if
It's
it is?
Mara. I mean, Mara. It's Mara Jade, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know.
Inquisitor, Emperor's Hand. Like, if it's anyone from Legends, then
It's definitely not Rupert Friend.
no, it's not.
Right.
I mean, General Grievous 19 is here. What if it's Grievous?
I mean, I don't know. They could stick his well, his eyeballs burn out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
we don't see
medical
this guy's
advances.
eyeballs. Yeah. Get new eyeballs. We got droids.
But I feel like it's somebody. I don't know who. My top of my list right now is Ezra. Number 2, Alden Ehrenreich. Number 3, no, I don't know. But
not as Han Solo, as the guy from
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
What if it's Han Solo? What if it is Han Solo trying to find Luke, trying to find
Solo's
his son? We find out Luke took Kylo Ren against his will, and he's become a dark wielder, and that's why I said
it's a shaved
Episode
Chewie.
7.
It's obviously
that's why all of a
just
sudden that's too short. It's Lumpy. Lumpy's grown up. It's like, where's my dad been all these years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got some offspring in this episode. We see Jason Syndulla.
Dude.
Yeah, they did it.
As soon as Mon Mothma said, "How's Jason?" I'm like, great, acknowledged. Cool. Yep. That's all I needed.
And now he's there.
And I'm like, that's there for the fans. And I'm like, oh, he's there.
Yeah.
And his hair's green.
His hair's green.
It's a good version.
It looks fine. I am really intrigued because he's super excited about Sabine being a Jedi, and he's like, I want to be a Jedi. And you got to think that's because he knows who his dad was.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like there's no mention of Kanan. There's so many opportunities for a direct mention of Kanan in this episode, and we don't get one, which is a little bit disappointing, but also I completely understand it from a filmmaking thing, because what if, like, you're someone who's not watched Rebels, you don't need anything, you're getting told about Ezra because Ezra's going to be in this show. He's kind of already is in the show. You're being told and explained Thrawn. You don't need another character who is dead already to be like going, here's someone else. It's like you can make reference, like killed people who, like friends who were like family to me. Like that's all you need. But then to explain it in the same way that Sabine doesn't talk about the Darksaber. Like she's like, Kanan trained me when I was using the Darksaber like this. And it's like, you don't do this like Kanan. It's like, if you start doing that, you're going to start pissing off more casual people who are just like, what the fuck? Who's a Kanan? What's a Kanan? And why did hang on, the Darksaber? I know that from Mandalorian. Why did she have the Darksaber? It's one of those things that's like, it just overcomplicates it. It's not relevant for this story.
It's kind of funny to see where they draw the line as far as how much we're going to give Rebels fans and then not sort of confuse the normal casual live action
only, like won't watch cartoons people. Yeah.
A friend of mine texted me yesterday. He's like, I haven't watched Ahsoka yet. I've watched all the Star Wars live action stuff on Disney Plus. Am I going to be completely lost? And I said, listen, man,
I don't think so.
All you need to know is that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan.
Yep.
And I said, I said, you can go on. There's countless. You can go to Star Wars Explained. You could go to Screen Crush. You can go to New Rock Stars. You can go anywhere to find a breakdown of Ahsoka.
Between 10 minutes and 2 hours. Like everyone's got one.
Yeah. You can get the rundown there. But I said, dude, Rebels is awesome. Watch Rebels because it's dope. And even though Rebels doesn't really center around Ahsoka that much, it's so good. Yeah. And even though I'm not sure if Hera's taken a back seat from this point on, if it's just going to be Sabine and Ahsoka, I feel like I know what's coming.
I feel like I know what's coming, and I'm excited for it.
I feel like, I mean, it's got to be the whole Rogue One thing. We're not allowing you to go to Scarif. All right, we're just going to go to Scarif.
Yeah, see ya.
And so
I don't need the fleet. I've got the ghost. Yeah.
And it's again Mon Mothma saying, we're not allowing you to take a fleet to go find Thrawn. And
but we're going to look over this way while you're turning over that way. Yeah. Mon
So
Mothma, like, she
so
wants to help Hera. She knows, she respects Hera. Like, she's clearly friendly with her. Like, I like that familiarity that they had. And then
we're gonna get
Senator Zono, like Kaz's dad from Star Wars Resistance, the
yeah.
bastard stepchild of the animated series. That
I need
like,
to watch that. Should I watch that? I haven't
it's
watched
fine.
it. I watched the
It's
first couple episodes.
it's totally fine. It's like, you don't need to focus on it. You don't need to watch it. It wasn't a Filoni ran
It,
show.
right.
But it's serviceable.
I guess and then there's this new Jedi Young Jedi Order or something. There's this, it's like a
That's
kids show with
that's
the blue
very
alien.
much like a bluey like kid show.
Yeah.
I
think
was kind of stoned a few weeks back and I watched half of an episode and I really enjoyed it.
I think I need to watch it because they're doing a Life Day episode in November.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. A friend of
Like
mine's got
full on
a
Wookiees with orbs.
three-year-old and was looking for something to like get him into
Are
Star
they like
Wars.
are they probably like 10 minutes long, right? They're
Oh,
probably
they're like, I think they're doing like 2 episodes per episode, so like 22 minutes, but it's two
okay.
like Rugrat style.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tristan didn't really like Resistance here.
I mean, it's Star Wars I haven't seen, and that if I was 16 years old, like, you know, back in like 1992, and I found
think
that
it
there
had
was
more
Star Wars I
promise.
hadn't seen,
Yeah.
I would go watch the Star Wars.
It had some promise that didn't really pay off for me. But there's some interesting stuff in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's Kaz, the lead of that show. That's his dad, is that senator.
Right.
He blows up on Hosnian. He's the senator from Hosnian Prime, I believe. And yeah, he blows up there. And Kaz watches on a
Cool.
hologram. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it was Jordan Mason
Cool.
on Blue Sky mentioned it. He's got the same energy as Borsk Failure, the Bothan from like the Timothy Zahn books and stuff like that, who is he's part of the New Republic. He's a New Republic senator. He's ostensibly a good guy, but he's just a bit of a prick. And he's always a thorn in the side of the people who are like trying to proactively do stuff. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, that feels exactly what this guy is like. Also then dies with the capital, which fits.
arrogant,
and also like, again, I love that Hera called him out. You set out the war. You waited to see what side won.
And what's fun about that is that he's essentially talking like, oh, he's being like the mayor from Jaws. He's like, the Imperials are under threat. They don't have any leaders or anything. And then what happens in episode 7?
Yeah, there's Thrawn.
Yeah.
He's a threat. Yeah, I watched Jaws last night. Love that. That is a Jaws print there.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect movie.
Yeah. It's one of 3 perfect Spielberg movies in my opinion.
I'm gonna say Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm gonna say Close Encounters. It better be Close Encounters.
Maybe
Close Encounters is my favorite Spielberg.
Yeah, I know.
movie.
We talked about this.
For me, it's perfect. I get it.
Maybe,
I get it.
Maybe. I mean, it's Jurassic Park for me, but that's, I think, an age thing. But yeah, that's the 3 for me. Tommy the Duck says E.T. I'm not a massive E.T. fan.
I've seen E.T. like 3 times, and it was all when I was a kid.
Yeah, same. Exactly the same. But yeah.
Jeremy's trying to plug my my Patreon show. I do a not a top 5 list, but a list of 5 things in a category. And my first episode was Spielberg movies.
Amazing.
As suggested by Mark Vibert of the Holdo Maneuver podcast.
Always a good podcast topic.
Right. So
if Jason gets
essentially
trained, just before we get off of the Syndulas, if Jason gets trained, does he get killed by Kylo Ren or die at the temple, or does he turn Sith like Jason Solo from Legends? Like,
no.
Or
he lives his life like Kanan. He learns from Hera side of things, like, hey, listen, you don't need to be out there. You can hide. You can go around. You can help the galaxy in different ways by being small.
Moves into Chopper Base. Makes friends with Bendu.
I don't know if I could deal with Bendu. But okay, first thing first. We both agree that we're gonna get our first view of the ghosts. Like, like it's gonna be like on your left. Like, No one
Oh
else is
yeah,
helping. Or it's
great.
going to be
Yeah.
like it's going to be like it's going to be the Lando thing in Rise of Skywalker, where
There's more. Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
listen, the Empire's not, or the
They
what is
need a
it, the
fast
Resistance?
ship
What
to
are they?
catch
The
up.
Republic.
Like,
The
yeah.
Republic aren't gonna help out. We showed up to save the day in the Ghost. We're gonna see the
Mhm.
Ghost for the first time. It's gonna be Hera and Zeb. Maybe Zeb brings the squadron,
Ooh, that'd be cool.
his
Maybe.
blue squadron.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
So we
again,
saw.
setting us up for disappointment
Yeah,
if it
totally.
doesn't happen.
I mean,
But at
I
the
think
same time,
Hera and the Ghost
I
definitely.
listen. There's a HasLab right now going on that they're selling a Ghost
With
for like
all of them.
$500.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was watching this, and I watched again the Phantom's there, and I'm like, if they don't show the Ghost, they really dropped the ball on
It's
this
in the trailer.
HasLab.
I've gone back and I've watched one of the trailers. It's there. It's 100% there. You see the engine signature. You can't miss it. I really liked when we saw the fleet, that like those A-wings. I think they were in the first episode, but they're the blue A-wings. They're like Phoenix Squadron A-wings from
Right.
Rebels. Like it's that same group. Tommy the Duck agrees with you. No Bendu.
No Bendu. It's one of those Star Wars things where, but what's weird is like, okay, so last week I was saying I want them to go into these unknown territories because you can get really weird with it, and I like the more weird stuff, but for some reason Bendu just didn't sit right with me. Maybe because it was maybe because it was in the original trilogy
just
era.
not a fan of Doctor Who.
Shit. This is the third mention of Doctor Who.
Ooh. I mean, it's probably good for the SEO.
Maybe.
I really, really liked their comment when they're sitting around the table. So, like, Ahsoka's a patient, like, teacher. I like that they're not getting frustrated with each other. When we saw Sabine training with Kanan, they were quite, like, against each other, and that's just a trope that is played out. Like the student who can't get it, and the master who's getting frustrated.
Luke did it with
Yoda. Yeah. It happens throughout. Anakin is just like all of his training. But Ahsoka's super patient, and she's good, and she's giving good lessons. So Ahsoka with the mask on, Sabine with the mask on, she starts getting a few hits in, and she's able to block a few, but it's because she's tapping into some anger and frustration. And then Ahsoka's like, look, that is a quick and easy path. It will give you the power that you are wanting, but it's not the way to do it. And they have an actual conversation. It's a really good bit of instruction. It's not just no, this isn't how you do it. It's look, see, you can do it, but you can get there a better way, a more healthy way. And then when they're talking about actually using the Force, I really like that she was saying, like, anyone can, like, anyone has the ability to, but you know, it takes the discipline and the patience to be able to actually get through to it.
Right. We have a Twitch comment, which we never get unless it's a bot. It's not a bot. Are they setting up for an Ahsoka Rey battle on the big screen in a few years?
I don't think battle, but I mean, I'd like to see the two have a conversation.
I mean, get Ahsoka on the big screen.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, Ahsoka and Rey.
I mean, Ahsoka's gonna have to be in the big screen when they do that Filoni It's the Empire movie, surely.
The only thing is that you can hear Ahsoka's voice, the Ashley Eckstein voice, at the end of Rise of Skywalker as one of the Jedi speaking with her. Now, whether all those Jedi are dead or not, I don't know if that's a thing. I don't
Everyone
know if
else
Luke,
is.
I don't know if when Luke passed away and became a Force ghost, maybe contacted all the returning Jedi, living and dead, and was like, listen, we need all our power, wherever you are in the galaxy, alive or dead, to focus all of your power into this one girl.
Yeah.
So maybe Ahsoka's alive.
Maybe she's alive, but if she goes out like defeating Thrawn, that feels like a pretty noble, good, solid ending for her. If that's her arc, is to like go all the way through, she arcs out. Like it's the same reason that Charlie had to die on Lost. Like he arced out. Like he'd arced out long before that. They just gave him a good ending. Like all of this sort of stuff. It's like you don't want a character to linger on beyond their story relevance. It's just not interesting at that point, and then you start to sour the character. But
listen, Listen,
I'm fine
I
with it.
love Ray.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to really like Ahsoka. Like
Mhm.
I was never a big fan of the Clone Wars. It's one of the reasons why we stuck to live action. I really fell in love with Rebels, and this is really getting me into like a position where I really, really,
She's
really like
great.
Ahsoka.
She's so good.
Um,
Did you
and
watch Tales
this
from the
was
Jedi?
yeah, we did. We
Yeah.
covered it on a data
Yeah,
link
yeah. Yeah, that's right.
where we saw her like talking with animals.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of talking with animals, we haven't brought
Yeah.
it up.
Pogo.
Purgo.
Pogo are here, baby. They
They
look
are there.
huge.
They look amazing.
They look so good. They look imposing and frightening. I can't wait to get a
Yeah.
close up of an eye like we got in Rebels.
What's funny is in the animated series, the textures have like sort of a chalk kind of
Mhm.
texture to it when they get close to the characters, and everything has a very similar look. And this is our first live action look of up close the texture of the
Yeah.
Purgo, and they look like whales.
Whales, absolutely. And like,
They
the
look
fact
like
that
whales.
that Hugh Yang even says star whales is like that's a description. Like we'd not heard that before. But again, I think that's a lot for it's Star Warsy enough, but it's also here's what they are. You don't need to know anything else, people. Like they're star whales. There you go. But
Yeah.
then they do still say called Purgil.
Yeah. A couple of comments going back to Ahsoka because people are going nuts in the chat. So Tristan said, he took it as she's dead. She's 20 years older than Luke, so she'd be a very old lady.
We don't know how old that
Still
species
can
lasts.
right. Tom Holland would Filoni really kill off his prized possession? I mean, all things must die. Like,
yeah, and I think when he's
the right
feels like he's told
circumstance.
that yes, I don't think he'd do it prematurely, but I don't think he'd want anyone else to do it. And I think that he's the one who wants to be able to tell that story. He wants to tell her essentially now from birth to death. What a cool way.
Brad Brooks brings up is she's speaking from another galaxy.
Yeah. Intergalactic. Planetary.
Maybe she gets out to this galaxy where where things are force sensitive, and she can start something new that's not Jedi. Introduce the force users that are confused out there, sort of embrace them and teach them, this thing that's on the inside that you don't know what it is. I can help you focus that.
And
she can start her own
for
version.
Jedi Survivor. There's a similar theme to that in that game. Like I won't go into details or anything, but like there's something along those lines of like we can start something over here. It can be different.
Yeah.
Tommy
the Duck mentions that he hated the Clone Wars, but considers those last 4 episodes essential viewing. And he grew to love Ahsoka towards the end. I'm going to say I didn't hate Clone Wars. There's a lot of good stuff in there. There's also a lot of stuff in there.
It's a lot of stuff. I think that's it. Like
if you want to watch anything from Clone Wars, watch that last season, especially the Ahsoka stuff. You can watch the Bad Batch if you want. That stuff's okay.
Yeah,
it's mostly
just
to
good
kind of lead into that series.
But
I mean, if you watch, there's gotta be, and they probably even have this on Disney Plus, like the essential Ahsoka episodes or the essential Clone Wars episodes.
There's tons of those.
There's lists out there.
I mean, I think her arc at the end of season 5, her leaving the Order, is fantastic. And then that you jump ahead to like most of the final season, and it's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I really liked the comment about anyone can tap into the Force. It reminded me of Broom Boy, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
And it's that thing. It's like, and it goes back to, I think Lawrence Kasdan was the one who said it. He's like talking to George after Return of the Jedi. He's like, yeah, the Force is in everyone. Everyone's got the Force. It's
Obi-Wan says it.
Tap into it. Yeah, exactly. It's there from the first description. But he says,
it's reiterated in this. It's an energy field that binds the galaxy together. It flows through every living creature.
Through the rock, the ship. Like it's like it's everywhere. But then I think it was Kasdan sort of asked George, he's like, so could Han Solo use the Force? He's like, with the right training and the right discipline, yes. Again, there are levels, there are different scales of like how people can tap into this stuff, but like Yeah, with the right sort of training and discipline, yes, he could, and yes, Sabine, I am now convinced after this episode, yes, she will.
Well,
If
she's going to move that
only if
cup.
it's she's gonna move that cup. It's the Thor's hammer, Captain America, like just wiggle of it, and then at the end there'll be something.
She'll use the Force to do something.
Yeah.
So okay. These guys are walking around on that table, which cracks me up.
Yeah, I love that. I love what a cool
They're
design.
training.
Also,
they're
it's
training on that
practical.
table. Like, is there something they could wipe it off with before using?
I hope
like,
so.
Going back to eating.
Yeah, I hope so. That's what Hugh Yang's doing off screen when they're out.
Yeah.
That other room that they keep on going into,
From
but
like
then we
it's
haven't been in
space,
there
there's
yet.
probably not dust and stuff. They probably don't have dirt on their bottom of their shoes, but it's like still like she was training. She got knocked down on the ground. She's probably sweaty. That's on the table.
There's a space Roomba. There's a space Roomba that just goes around, wipes the
Yeah.
floors, mops, gives them a mop down. But I love that, and the fact that we see them like putting the drinks down as it's rising up, and then they're sitting on it. It's like it's such a cool thing that it just
well,
makes
in the last week's episode, we saw the table down with her cup on the floor, which made me laugh too.
Yeah, it's great.
Get my cup.
Hera and the Ghost are gonna go rogue and come and join them and help them out.
100%.
And then, as I was writing that note, it made me go, "Oh, there's my new pitch for Rogue Squadron." You get Wedge at the beginning, and it's him handing off the reins of Rogue Squadron to Hera, and then Hera Syndulla is the in command of Rogue Squadron, and we get a new cast of characters, and that's how we get Hera in a movie all the way through.
Yeah,
I'm into it, and that'd be great.
De-age Dennis Lawson.
I mean, a little bit, or he can be older. It depends on when you want to do it. But yeah, you could de-age Dennis Lawson. That way, he doesn't have to be in it the whole way. But it's that handoff. Because again, Star Wars Squadrons, the story mode of that, they were interacting. They are the two mission givers for a few of those.
Yeah, Sean mentions that he likes that there might be more Jedi Academies than just Luke's. Makes sense.
Why not? Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's a movie called The Last Jedi.
There is.
Where we assume that's Luke, but maybe these other academies are like Ahsoka. Or like Balin. They're teaching sort of some of the Jedi things, but they're not necessarily.
His line is, Jedi. "I will not be the last Jedi." It's like, no, you won't. There's tons of them out there. Like, there's loads. Like, people complain about too many Jedi surviving Order 66, and we touched on it last week about how, like, for years it was always a case of it was Obi-Wan and Yoda, and then Luke being the last hope. It's like, no. That is, I do genuinely believe now that they are talking personally. It's their last hope. There's loads of them out there, and I think that's great. I'm all for it, because think about it, like they didn't get everyone in one day, and then they are going to flee. Everyone got Obi-Wan's message. We've seen that Obi-Wan's message got out there.
Yeah. Here's a question from Twitch I want to bring up. Asking, is Ahsoka being marketed as an African-American hero, or do you see her as another alien race with a slight pigment to her skin? I think they're marketing on the character. 100% marketing on the character. And I think what's great about Star Wars is this show, the three main leads are, we mentioned last week, people of color, one of them being green, one being orange, and one's an Asian character. And it's what's great about it is, and what's great about Star Wars is, you don't have to look at the skin color. You don't. No,
it's kind of colorblind. Like,
but you can do anything. You guys know I read Green Lantern, and you have people who are pink and people who are, you can inject yourself. Anyone can inject themselves into a pink character.
Yeah.
Anyone can. It's one of the things that Stan Lee said about Spider-Man. Is he essentially said like anyone could be Spider-Man because his face is covered. You don't know who's under there.
Literally his quote in the first Spider-Verse movie. It's the mask will always fit. Like, it fits you. Like, yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily an agenda, but it's one of those kind of great side effects is when you have a character that doesn't look like anybody.
Yeah.
It means they can be
anybody.
At
that point, yeah. And when you're playing an alien character, it's great that they just went with the best person for the role. It doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't matter what
Yeah.
ethnicity they are. Like it's the best person
Yeah.
for the role, and that's great. That's how it should be.
I've been talking about Callus the last couple
Yeah.
months. Callus is a character who's a white character played
Yep.
by a person of color.
Uh-huh.
And, it's whoever's best for the role. I love Rosario Dawson. I think she's wonderful.
Yep.
I really liked her this episode, and it has nothing to do with anything other than the character.
Yeah.
Again, I like this show because it's character and story driven. There's a definite like I've been saying this since the beginning, when Mandalorian first started. Like, we're finally getting a serialized Star Wars. Star Wars was based off Flash Gordon serials,
Yeah.
which was like a comic book. It's a story that continues from week to week, month to month. And Mandalorian didn't do that for me because it's more of a procedural thing. They started getting into season one arcs.
There's elements.
But this feels
yeah.
And then Obi-Wan series felt like
A prolonged movie.
Here's a movie that they cut up into the 6 parts. Andor is like, here's
prestige TV.
Here's 3 episodes at a time. We're doing sort of 3 episode arcs. This is the first one where I feel like this is where we're going to get one 8 episode story that follows these characters, and it's giving us time to sort of be with them. Because if this was Mandalorian, by the end of this episode, Sabine would have been able to move the cup. She would have been able to fight Ahsoka. Like,
there would have been a bit of a
On.
reset.
Yeah, and it would have just been like, okay, now they're 2 Force users.
Ready for the next
what's
episode.
great about this is Filoni is like, I have this many episodes to tell this story, and this journey is going to take us the entire time. And so I love that. I love that this is so, it feels the most planned, like Obi-Wan seemed planned for a movie, and then it got altered. This feels like Filoni's like, this is the plan, is this many episodes to tell this story. And when we're done with that, I have other stories to tell. We'll get to those, but right now I have this story to tell. I'm focusing on this, and we're going to tease Thrawn. We're going to tease the First Order like they did in this episode. We're going to tease the Ghost. Listen, you guys want to see the Ghost first episode, but listen, we want that to be a moment. We want that to be a new character
reveal. It's
So Zeb might be a tougher pill to swallow. Let's put him in Mandalorian season 3 so you get used to that guy. So when he shows up, you're not blindsided. For the regular people aren't blindsided.
Or as I was saying last week, here's what he's doing so that if he doesn't show up, you don't have everyone asking what's he doing. He's busy at the moment. He's doing that. He's doing the Rangers of the New Republic.
But with the inclusion of Jason, the inclusion of Jason, I feel like they're ready to be like, you're gonna get your Rebels because they didn't have to. They could have swept Jason under the rug. They could have mentioned Jason
offhand mention,
and then that would have been it. But the fact that they showed him, it's like, no, we're doing this. We're gonna make sure that Rebels fans get their answers, because last week we watched 2 episodes, no mention of Jason. Where is he? Boom, here he is.
Yeah, totally. It's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. I mean, I'm running out of things to say because it's just like, it's just really good.
Well, we have a great question here by Sean. I mean, speaking of the Jedi who survived Order 66, there could be plenty of them around during the sequel series, just not taking part in it. Yeah. I mean, some of them could have aged out. You know, some of them could be in hiding. I mean, the galaxy is huge. That's the problem when there's too many interconnecting characters. Like, the galaxy is huge. The thing I loved about this episode is the Ahsoka ship. I don't know the name of it.
It's a Jedi shuttle of some sort. Like, it was
when it lands in that forest.
Yeah.
And they can't be found. That's just one tiny forest of one gigantic planet that's in one gigantic solar system of a gigantic galaxy. So it's one of those things where it's like, there could be Jedi out there doing what Kanan was doing in Rebels, which is just like
bounty hunting or like smuggling, just being a doe, just being out there.
I'm going to be like David Banner, go from town to town helping people out because I can turn into this Hulk. but I'm going to do it undercover. And
What the Safdie brother was doing at the beginning of Obi-Wan, like he was just like he couldn't help himself from helping, and that's why he got caught. Because the Inquisitors were in full force at that time, whereas now the Inquisitorius is no more.
You were in a war.
Yeah.
You might want to settle down. You might find a nice place where you can help people out, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So there, I mean, you know, I think it's impossible for Vader to hunt down and kill the Jedi.
That was Kanan's whole argument in the I think it's season 2 of Rebels. At the beginning of that, when Ahsoka's introduced and they like Hera's like, we're in this fight now. We are part of the rebellion, and he's like, I didn't sign up for that. I've been through a war. I lived through it. I got my ass kicked at the end of it. I don't want to be in a war. But then obviously he's a hero, so he comes around and he knows when he has to step up.
Yeah. Tommy says, until this show, I never thought that it all took place in the same galaxy.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he says despite it saying a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, that's the thing, is like at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, there's always been talk about that.
It looks
standing, like a galaxy, like, or is it a nebula? Or it's
so is the what's left of the Rebel fleet just like kind of hanging out just outside of
just on the outskirts, maybe? Like,
is it just a cool shot?
It's just a cool shot. Let cool shots be cool shots. Yeah. Like this sort of intricacies of what galaxy they're in, and like George Lucas didn't have a freaking map. Like he wasn't star mapping it. It's not like West End Games weren't doing their maps for the RPGs back then. Like that stuff comes around later. Leave that for Tim Zahn and Michael Stackpole to figure out.
But it's I don't know. It's a big galaxy, so there's probably, I mean, it gives them the freedom. You know, Kanan's the perfect example of giving them freedom to make more Jedi out there.
And Kanan's a great example. Going back to what Tom said earlier on about would Filoni want to kill his prized possession? It's like that was a character who had a full arc, and killing him was the right move at that point for the show, for the character, for the other characters, for everything. So he's not afraid to do it when it's relevant to do it. He wrote off Ezra. Ezra could have survived that. Ezra could have got away, but no, it was the right move. And so I think when it's relevant, he will be the person to show us Ahsoka's noble sacrifice, because it's going to be a noble sacrifice. It's bound to be.
I feel like Jedi follow the will of the Force.
Yeah, basically. And if that's the way that she got to go. Luke did it. Luke sacrificed himself, sort of thing. So yeah. The one thing I wanted to mention is Sabine is 2 years older than Luke and Leia. Like that's something that you don't really get. Like she just looks younger, I think, than we would assume. But then it's probably because we've seen Luke and Leia around this sort of time. But then you go Mando, Luke, probably. Because
they're supposed to be, the kids are supposed to be 18 in A New Hope.
18, 19, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and so and Jedi takes place how many years?
4
years? Something like
4
that?
years after. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like supposed to be like 24, 25, maybe 26 tops.
Yeah.
At the end of Jedi. So yeah, Sabine's
she can be 26, 27. Like, somewhere around there.
Because Sabine was hanging out with Leia, and they were pretty much both teens.
Yeah. She's just 2 years older. And Ezra is exactly the same age. He born on the same day as Luke and Leia. That's the whole Empire Day thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Empire. His birthday is Empire Day, which is, as long as there's not a delay in like Revenge of the Sith, like that's the same day. He's the same age as Luke and Leia, which is kind of fun.
I didn't know that. I didn't put that together.
It's one of those weird timeline things. Like, I mean, hell, in the timelines book that's back there, like that's their birthday. Is all three of
George
them.
Wasn't around during Rebels.
Who?
George.
I mean, he was more around in Clone Wars. I don't think for Rebels he did too much, because that was Disney then. Rebels was more Disney. So
so that'd be a Filoni thing.
Filoni thing, but Filoni's not going to decide to do those sorts of things without a bit of a. George would be cool with this.
That's like my friend Dan was born the day Star Wars came out, and I'm like,
oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was born, real Star Wars day.
Do you share a birthday with anyone fun? Do you know?
The same day?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I have like John Travolta and Yoko Ono and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the same year.
No, not the same day. No. I've got not the same
I'm
day.
curious. I'm curious to see if there
I've
is
got
somebody.
Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan is mine. Which is a fun
Cool.
one. But yeah, a few
Yeah.
years older.
Go see Ninja Turtles. If you haven't seen that Ninja Turtles movie, go see Ninja Turtles.
That's right. He's Splinter, right?
Oh, yeah, dude.
That's so cool.
Dude.
I haven't yet, but I'll probably wait for streaming. But yeah, I want to check it out.
See it on the big screen, man.
Yeah.
If it's like a cheap theater, like go see it, dude. Turtles.
Mm.
Turtles was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I do want to see
it.
it.
I loved it. Yeah. Yeah, he's talking to Tommy's asking about the age of the actress.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Yeah,
everyone's got their birthdays. Their shared birthdays.
Matt LeBlanc, Amon, Estelle Getty. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Erwin Rommel. Wow.
Tristan came out of the womb and caused such an eruption that he blew up an entire volcano. The world wasn't ready for you, Tristan.
Wow. I mean, you got work to go to, right? Today?
I do. Yeah, I should probably wrap this up.
Let's start wrapping this up. Let's talk about next week. We're going to be covering episode 4, part 4.
Yep.
We're going to have a guest.
Who have we got next week?
And at least we're slated to have a guest. We'll be joined by a friend of the show. Oh my God, Jacob Fullerton.
It's Jacob. Yeah, Jacob's next week. Great. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jacob's so fun because I rarely interact with him other than during the live streams, and he's such a sweetheart. He's got like this sort of infectious enthusiasm for Star Wars. So I'm hoping he is enjoying the Ahsoka series. I don't know if you've seen anything.
I haven't seen anything about his opinions yet, but I am sure that he is. Like Jacob's he's similar to us. So it's like he might look back on things critically afterwards, but in the moment he's just happy to get new stuff. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what he has to say next week. I will have to give him a
I feel like in
him.
The moment though, when I watch like Mandalorian, I'm starting to get jaded by it. With this, I'm like, no, this is good. Yeah, like this is the stuff I like.
This is the stuff.
Like, there's some good. This show really has good spaceship hallways.
Yeah,
like the scene with Jason, I was like, wow, that's a good Star Wars hallway. That's a really good Star Wars hallway.
We've got a pre-record coming up with Gary Whitta, which is very exciting. Writer of Rogue One and Book of Eli and other cool things. If anyone we probably won't have a live chat going for that, but if anyone's got any questions they want us to ask Gary Whitta, shoot them over to us on, I guess, still Twitter, but Blue Sky if you've got it. If you want a Blue Sky invite code, give us a message as well. So we'd love to have nice people over there. But yeah, if you've got any questions for Gary Whitta, shoot them over to us and we'll make sure that they are asked when we talk to Gary. And that episode will be coming out after the Ahsoka season. We're going to keep hold of that one for a little bit.
Yeah, it'll give us a week off to post that, and then we're going to be diving into. We're going to be still doing live action Star Wars. We may do it every other week for the audio and the video during Invincible because of our show Invincible.
November. That starts in November. Yeah.
So we're going to be busy.
If you're not already subscribed to Invincipod or caught up on Invincible, go do that.
And the movie I'm working on, I think we may have shoots in November. So hopefully I can schedule us either around the movie around this show, which is how I've done it. I think I did one episode from the place we're staying during a shoot. I did one episode. It was Mando. Yeah. It was the episode where they were walking down into the mine. Mm-hmm. I remember I watched that at my friend Dylan's house, and I did that episode from his place. So I don't think we're going to be scheduling any movie stuff at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm pretty sure I'll just have my computer wherever I have my computer, and we won't miss a beat. But man, we're gonna be busy when Invincipod starts. So probably no data links for that.
That's okay. It's all good. Near the end of the year, I'll have more stuff to do as well. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this week, though. So until next week. Enjoy Ahsoka, guys, because it's just really good. Don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.